Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just see whether this works, no? So, thriving in a PPE world. So, some of you might be wondering, what's PPE? Is it what became very fashionable during the pandemic, right? The personal protective equipment. No, not that PPE. But PPE, standing for perpetually, pervasively evolving world. So, just to backtrack a little bit, it was sometime early 2021 when I decided to, it was a moment of insanity, or maybe it's temporary, maybe it's permanent, I do not know. But sometime in 2021, in the midst of the pandemic, I decided to do what many people were thinking to be really unthinkable, because it happened at the time when many people were fearful of what would happen to their jobs, because it was right smack in the middle of the pandemic. I decided to do completely the opposite. I left a very stable 12-year career in the company that was mentioned by Richard earlier. And not only that, I decided to shift gears at that time from Chief People Officer to CEO, so changed roles, moved sectors within the IT BPM industry from full outsourcing to managed or hosted services, which I will talk about a little bit more later. Moved also from 19 years of being a night crawler, graveyard shift, to full daytime hours. Managing, leading as CEO of not just one, but two companies who, within 1 year, the first year of the pandemic, were bought back to back by a company called Probe CX. So they were going through massive organizational change, both these two companies. And to make matters a little bit worse, 6 months after I started, I found out too that we were going to again be sold to another company, this time around the company that was mentioned by Richard, a private equity management firm in the world, well, the second biggest in the world, called KKR. And so, talk about a PPE world. The company or the companies that I ended up joining, Microsourcing and BPO as CEO, is the pioneer, combined, the pioneer and the largest provider of managed operations in the Philippines. Now, all of you might be wondering, what the hell is managed or hosted services? And how and why is it different from a typical outsourcing or offshoring model that we are so used to? Yes, we are a segment of, or we are part of the now second biggest revenue generator of the Philippines industry, which is the BPO industry, contributing $32 billion in revenue. And by the way, our projection is that 2 years from now, we will supersede, we will overshoot the targets that have been set to us, and we will become, as an industry, the biggest revenue generator for the Philippines. The remittances coming from the OFW will come in only second to us. Mark my word, it'll happen in 2 years' time. So, if you look at our footprint, we only have 3 facilities outside of Metro Manila. really. 1 in Clark and 2 in Cebu, right? Richard mentioned about me being passionate about countryside development. And he is correct, because I was born and raised the most beautiful island in the world, Palawan. I always say that, that's my claim to fame. But this slide doesn't particularly tell the entire story of how we as an organization over the past 2 years made our pivot so that we can make more meaningful difference in the lives of the people in the countryside area. Because while we only have 3 actual facilities outside of Metro Manila, as a matter of fact, I checked this morning, 52% of our labor pool, of our around 9,300 employees, are residing and doing work outside of Metro Manila. How and why? Because of hybrid and permanent work from home. Now, how did we grow over the years? And I think this is important. The cameraman is having difficulty following me, so I think I need to go a little bit here. I tend to throw them off all the time, sorry. Okay? So how did we grow over the years? Look at this, growth amidst the pandemic. Over the past 3 years, we have grown double the rate of the average of the entire BPO industry. The BPO industry in general, year on year, has grown between 8 to 10%. The most aggressive growth for players within that industry is at around 10 to 12%. Our average growth over the past 3 years, 17.2%. And you might be wondering, why? What happened? What is it that is unique about the managed or hosted services that makes it attractive or more attractive in spite of all the madness that's happening in the world? Okay? There are 4 key things. Number 1, the transparency of the business model, the flexibility of that business model, the scalability of that business model, and the diversity in its offering. And these are very important even if you are not in our sector. Because what happens in our sector eventually will impact yours, regardless of whether you're in real estate, in logistics, in purchasing, in cargo, in transportation, or whatnot. So, one by one, we will talk about this. Now, this is the simple business model explanation. When you talk about a typical offshoring and outsourcing solution, which is on the left side, really, there are 4 things that investors typically consider. What's the one-time cost, long-term cost, Philippine expertise, right? And then operational control. I won't go through this one by one. You have the typical offshoring model on the left side, and then on the right side, you have a typical model wherein, as an investor, you operate and you set up your operations in the Philippines. The message here is that the managed or hosted operation sit happily in the middle of that, taking advantage of the gains and the positives of both sides of the fence, wherein you have no one-time cost, you have the lowest long-term cost because you don't take care of capex nor any of the equipment. You have 100% Philippine expertise because we're operating here in the Philippines, but most importantly, operational control, which is the first thing that gets lost when you go into a typical full outsourcing model. You let go of your operational control. So on the left side here, you'll see what I mean when I talk about transparency. In this particular model, we earn revenue only through one way: service fee. And that service fee is fixed regardless of whether you ask me or us to hire a 25,000 salaried contact center agent, or you ask us to hire an agricultural taxonomist with an MBA who will have a salary of 250,000 pesos. That's a real position, by the way, that we hired for one of our Australian company. It is fixed. And because of that, Richard, the model is very, very attractive to any businesses and enterprise, regardless of the size and regardless of the industry. And you might be wondering, talaga, you don't have any markup in any of the extra services or extra tools that the clients require you to deploy? No. There's just one service fee, and the service fee gives them all of the services that you see there, as well as all the assets. What if, for example, a client says, well, instead of one monitor, I'd like 2 monitors for my staff? Fine. We'll give you 2 monitors. The one monitor, that's part of the service fee. The extra monitor, you have 2 options. You buy it yourself, or you use our accredited providers. We'll give you the code, direct pass-through, no markup. So again, very transparent. And in this particular model, you know who wins in the end? The Filipino talents. You know why? I lived the full outsourced life for 19 years. My biggest nightmare is when a client asks me, Haidee, how much are you paying your agents? Task us, friends. You know we cannot divulge that, because the moment we tell them how much we're giving our agents, ultimately they know how much money we're milking off them, right? Because that's our source of revenue. In this particular case, we have clients who tell us, Haidee, we're very happy with our professional, the engineer whom you've hired for us. We want you to give him 100% salary increase. We want his salary to increase from 50,000 to 100,000. Then we say, okay, fine. 100,000 it is. Effective when? They say, effective tomorrow. Okay, effective tomorrow. Payroll, advice, 100,000 effective tomorrow. That's it. And that gets billed directly to the client. So, who are the types of clients that this model attracts? Pretty much everyone. I was surprised to see that we have one from Finland, somewhere in there. There's Finland. See, we have one. This represents the types of clients that we are able to attract. Very interestingly, 47% of our clients belong to the professional, scientific, and technical services industry. Now, you will see here that insofar as geographical spread of our clients are concerned, really majority are in Australia, around 48%. But in terms of billable headcount, 55% is actually represented by North American clients. Even more importantly, is the last data set. 66% of our clients have less than 5 headcount. So, my friends from Task Us, will you accept an account if the FTE is just 1 or 2? Absolutely not. Not worth the time of the big players. Similar to the fact that in my past company, we would not touch a deal that's below 150. Not worth our time. In this particular case, 66% of our clients are either startups, micro, and small businesses. And for us, it is very impactful because not only are we doing a business that serves the Filipino talents very well, we're also helping our clients build their own economies because they are entrepreneurs. This, I think, should be very important to many of us here. You may be wondering, what type of jobs are they looking for in the Philippines? The simple answer, you name it, they look for it. So, to those of you who might be thinking, ay nako, I'm safe because I'm in the logistics sector, or I'm in the mining sector. I'm in the mining sector. And therefore, my job will not have any competition here in the Philippines coming from this IT BPM industry. The largest gold mining company in Australia is our client. We hire mining engineers and every position in the mining sector that you can think of. It's all there. And what is even more significant is that 2 years ago, when I started as CEO of Microsourcing and BPO, I looked at our profile of skills and positions. At that time, 70% of roles that we were hiring for, that clients were looking for, were entry-level contact center agents. Within 1 year, that shifted to 70% non-contact center work. That's how fast things are moving. To such an extent that now, what are our top 3 roles? Accounting and bookkeepers. Of course, the never-ending IT professionals, the software developers. And then the third one, anything related to medicine. Medical coders, radiologists, doctors, even. So, sorry to burst your bubble, we will be competing with you insofar as talent is concerned. So, apologies in advance. Now, what has been our learning as we navigate this PPE world? First and foremost, when I joined the organization, we embarked on what we called Bigger, Bolder, and Better Transformation Campaign. Our experience tells us that very important that when there is a lot of uncertainty in the world, when you don't have a lot of resources, whatever it is that you have left, you place your bet not on technology, sorry PLDT, not on facilities. Sorry, Evan. But on what? On people. You place your best remaining money on people, and you will win. That's what we found. The one transformation journey that we undertook focused only not on the entire enterprise, but only on two functional areas: people and culture, and talent acquisition. The two people-oriented functional areas. And this became pivotal for us and very strategic too. Why? Because ultimately, our new owners want us to make money, correct? But these revenues will not come from me. It will come from clients who have had great experiences. But clients will not have a great experience if the employees serving them are not having a great employee experience. And great employee experience starts with having a great candidate experience. So it's no rocket science. We had to focus on those two very, very critical parts. The next one is data. Data became king for us. When I joined the organization, we had more than 100 overdue roles. Because our business development team, whatever position comes down the pike, they say, okay, we'll take it, we can do it in the Philippines, even though when we did the market scan, there was zero labor pool for that particular role. We invested very heavily in talent, market intelligence, and insights. Of course, it meant that we had to tell clients, no, we cannot do that. Or yes, we can do that position, but there are only two of them, and only if you're willing to hire work from home, and these work from home people will most likely be based in Zamboanga or in Iligan City or in Marawi City. Data became power for us because it enabled us to manage not just the expectations of our clients, but also the expectations of our internal stakeholders. The third one, in times of ambiguity, in times when you don't really know what's going on, especially is it BOI or is it PESA? Do we work from home? Do we work in center? Okay. Are we on lockdown? Are we not? Timely, honest, transparent communication became very important, both externally and internally. It meant that even if we had to say no, we still communicated. Even if we knew that the answer was not going to be accepted gracefully, we communicated nevertheless. And it became powerful. And last but not the least, never attempt to do it on your own. One of the most pivotal things that happened to us as an organization happened last year in October. September 1st week, I got a call from my biggest client, the biggest aerial imagery company in the US, telling me, Haidee, we're going to shut down our operations in India, which means that you need to hire 300 people for us, and they need to go live by October 3. They were talking to me September 6. And by the way, they said, Haidee, it has to be in a completely different location. We're thinking you do it in Cebu. At that time, I had no presence whatsoever in Cebu. But I had to say yes, even though I did not know how I was going to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we were able to hire 350 by October 3. Everyone went live by October 3. But we did not do it alone. We had help, a lot of it, from the local government, from the industry association, from our employees themselves, because they all heeded the call. We made an announcement and we said, we need help. 87 of our first 350 hires were referrals coming from our own associates. Everything that you see on the right sides are certifications, awards, and recognitions that we got. Not over the past 3 years, not over the past 1 year. We're talking the past 6 months. The most important for us amongst all of this is the fact that we got certified as a great place to work last December. As well as getting a plus 55, plus 53 net promoter score amongst our clients versus plus 50 the last season. And for people, plus 77 net promoter score from our clients. My top 20 clients insofar as revenue is concerned, do I have any passives? Do I have any detractors? Zero. All of them promoters. So, how bullish are we about our prospects in the Philippines? As an organization, as CEO of Microsourcing, I remain very, very staunch in my belief that we will continue to grow in this country. That as an organization, we will continue to strive to make a positive difference amongst our Filipino talents, to continue to champion them, and to make sure that our Filipino professionals are not sold short just to get higher revenue or to get profits. And we will continue to be staunch in our advocacy to help our clients, most of whom are startups, as I mentioned, micro and small businesses, so that they themselves can grow. By the way, my biggest client at 1,200 started with only 7 headcount 8 years ago. And that as an organization, we will continue to invest and make a positive difference to our countryside locations and our countryside communities. I did not get a memo that the last slide should be a quote. Okay? This was meant to be my last slide, but because I'm so competitive, I will leave you with a quote. Even though it's not supported by a slide. But let me share a bit of a story before I give you the quote. My biggest client in Bipo, which is in Clark, one of the reasons he said he was leaving Bipo, this was a year or so ago, was that he did not believe that an Australian invested company should be led by a non-Australian. He just did not believe that a Filipino CEO will be able to make a positive difference for his business and for the organization. Well, you've seen our results. So, even if he's not here, I would like to tell him and to tell all of you, yes, the Filipino can, and yes, as Filipinas can. Thank you very much.